We hit that E of educate. That's what we're all here for. And our students with literacy for our students with significant disabilities isn't just about the tools, right? We've got to teach literacy skills. We have to practice. We need to be able to measure. We need to be able to reteach, and engage students with learning opportunities, that kind of, that variety within practice. So again, another list for you, because there are workshops out there, there are webinars out there that talk about all of these levels. I've done writing ones for these different levels using CRIC tools. But you can find these. I just wanted to give you some of the names of the practices. So things like shared reading, or using the CAR strategy, or using picture books, alphabet activities for emergent readers, right? Then what do we do with early readers? We build on those strategies and we add to them, like using dialogic reading strategies with processes like crowd. We do print referencing, partner reading, right? We're working on phonological activities that for our transitional readers turn into phonemic awareness activities, like you saw me doing with Creedy earlier. So again, this is just another list, but these are, the frameworks that you need to put the strategies that you see your elementary reading teachers, your remedial reading teachers, your reading teachers that are working with ESL students, put them into a framework, and then we figure out, where does assistive technology fit within this? So it's the what you're doing, and then the how you're doing it, along with the who you're doing these strategies with. It isn't just like, oh, I love to do shared reading, I'm going to do it with everybody, because that might be a waste of time for a conventional reader. Or we have to ramp up shared reading from what it might look like as a very expressive communication and engaging interactivity with an emergent communicator and an emergent reader. And it's going to look much differently when I do shared reading with a transitional reader, what I focus on, what I'm pulling out, how much I talk versus how much they talk. Those things balance changes as you know the level of reading for your students. We'll talk about some evaluation pieces at the end as we quickly slam our way into the end of the hour. But look at the different types of tools, educate students with symbols for communication. This is one of the major practices that has shifted in the last 5 to 7 years, is that we do not symbolate all the text that our students read anymore, because of the research that they have found that the kids focus on the pictures, they don't focus on the words. That you can actually teach kids the wrong word with the picture beside it. So we focus on teaching alphabet, we focus on teaching sound. We still use images to support that, right? We use images to cue kids in on big ideas, to support picking an image for what they're going to write about. But I'm not going to write using those images. I'm going to write with letters, and I'm going to write with whole word text, which is a whole other workshop, right? We want to educate by pairing this reading strategies that we have with listening, because listening to read is not the same as listening to be entertained, right? So listening to understand, getting that purpose. So going through really specific strategies for your students that are going to be doing a lot of audio as a part of their literacy learning, that focusing attention to listening, as we spend so much time on focusing visual attention, helping to create mental models from what we hear. And there are really some nice examples that are out there attached to Learning Ally, the Listen to Learn website. I don't think I put that in the resources, but we'll stick that in. So, look for those strategies to be using with your students. And the same thing in writing. We don't do the same writing activities with all levels of students with significant challenges as it comes to writing. We look at writing on that scale of emergent to early to transitional and conventional writers. So again, if there's an activity that you do, make sure that you've got that focus on for the student that it's appropriate for, and then we match up the tools. For example, having kids sign in to class, sign out of class is a reason to write your name, not just here's a piece of paper, copy your name over, ... trace, right? That why do we need to write our name? Those of us that work with high schoolers are making sure that our students know what a signature is, that they are signing things and signing in and out of things. My students sign their paper, the work that they do, so that they see that as a part of the writing process. So that whole idea of scribbling and mark making with the tool of their future, is what Donna and I like to say, is getting them exposure to writing, not just write your name, write the spelling words, write a sentence, write your address, those types of things, but starting to write for a meaningful purpose, connecting. What did we read? Let's write about it. One of my high school students was writing an email today. So she's got a peer buddy that is two 20-year-olds that are across the country from one another, and they write back and forth every week. And that is a legitimate section of our time to spend. How do I write? How do I organize as I write to people? How do I respond to questions that they write to me? And it's nice because it also connects, what are we using to read what the person has written to me, so that I can then respond to it. We'll just give you a little bit of
being a fearless writer. That's one of my favorite mini lessons, actually.
Typically, around the world, these students have never been expected to write because they present with huge cognitive challenges, many of them. Many of them can't use words to communicate. And so the First Author writing curriculum was developed to give these students with access to writing instruction that's similar to what's used in general education classrooms. The author's chair was designed to be a special place where all students can share their writing and everybody in the room can celebrate what they did that day.
They have a collection of their writing. They're celebrated in author's chair, and with each other, they're excited to see the topics that their friends pick about.
They love it because they have a platform to share their writing, things that they chose, things that they're passionate about, and they get accolades from their peers.
What's beautiful about author's chair is they really see why they're writing. They're like, this is why I do it. It's hard, but I get to go in this chair and I'm the star.
So I think that's what.
So I'm going to stop it there. We've given you the link if you want to watch this whole segment on First Author. This is one of the curriculum that I follow for writing for my emergent, early, transitional, into beginning conventional writers. The curriculum takes you up to about end of second grade, what they're looking for in the beginning of third grade writing test here in Wisconsin. And so you have lesson plans, and we find that there are ways to follow along with all of our kids. Planning for all these different types of materials can be challenging with our kids. And Donna and I have given you a link here to one of the forms that we use to plan out what is all the content that they're interacting with literacy-wise, and how am I going to gain access to it? What do I have to teach them to use? Who's going to be supporting us? And it's a freebie there with a link to you. We've got it at the end as well. But being planful about what you're educating student, so that when you evaluate, you will know what you're looking for. That it isn't just evaluation, so I have something to put in an IEP, but that it's evaluation that really guides what you're going to be doing next, that it's purposeful. More and more, we're finding that products from companies like Building Wings and Attainment and N2Y are having data built in that really help to support our teaching with students who have significant multiple challenges. And so these next couple of screens are all from that idea that it isn't just what's the end, pre and post, but how are you using diagnostic types of evaluative measures that help you make decisions of whether you're moving from emergent strategies to early strategies, right? How do you know when you've gotten to that point? What are those formative types of supports that are going to let you know what they've understood on the way? That it's not just the big T test at the end, right? It's that the quizzes and those kinds of things that keep us going. What are those benchmarks that I make some decisions about what's the next plan or the next type of lesson that we use? And of course, there are certainly summative things. There's a nice article on the Noodle site that goes through these different types of evaluations. If this is something that's new to you, you only know one type of testing, but just so that you're thinking in a more comprehensive way about gathering information. Because part of what we're gathering too are the barriers that our students are facing. This is another document that's in that Buchelman and Miranda book. It comes from the research from Susie Blackstein Adler, who's in Canada. She's an occupational therapist and special educator who works really closely with students with significant physical and communicative challenges. And Susie's always reminding us about that these barriers interfere with our students' learning. So evaluating isn't just about evaluating students, but evaluating where are you in your practices with literacy as we've gone through this very fast hour. Where are you in getting support from administration? Just like we talk about and Penny talked about with having administrative support as you get involved in assistive technology. The same thing is about your supports with literacy. Look to what the tools have built into them. This is just a screenshot from the emergent skills. There's like 6 different sections to this within the Retopia program. I know I've got a lot of classrooms that are using unique learning systems. And so the measurables that are in here, now that the math section has been expanded because equals has been added into unique, that certainly has enriched the math experience within that tool, but showing and demonstrating learning. And if there's regression, why? We can take a look at that piece. Lastly here, I don't think we're going to have time for another video, but you've got access to the link, is doing those check-ins. And with some of my students, check-ins can't be the 10-word spelling quiz. You know, they are the systematic check-ins. Like today I checked that we're doing question words. So we did who, where, and how today. I've got a list of 8 question words that we're spelling and using, but you know, energy levels feign. And so you've got to make some decisions as you go. So I'll leave that video for you to watch a little bit later. Other things that help you evaluate those, you know, big picture look at things like UPAR. Kathy can tell you all the things that you want to know with UPAR. And I know that you've had other sessions that are on specific tools. This is a nice video from Jenna at Patton's. That's the Indiana Assistive Technology Project, where she talks about their use of UPAR, and they've got a big UDL and literacy initiative that they've had going there for several years in Indiana. Also in the area of writing, Bridget Nicholson is one of my most favorite people in writing, and what she's helped me to do with my students along the way, and access she's done through custom typing. And she now is looking at this assessment tool that she's been teaching people about since I think the spring of last year, where we look at handwriting, speech recognition, typing, voice recording, and voice recognition. Kind of the whole list isn't shown here in the screen. But she looks at recorded voice differently than voice recognition, which I can really appreciate for my students in note taking. And of course, Dr. Denise DeCoste, who's a part of the UPAR, has also, has had the writing protocol out that many of us have used in printed form. And now the materials have been enriched with more background information and kind of the charts that are at the end that help guide your process and selection. All right, guys, as we wrap up here, you've been through the SET framework, or maybe you're new to it, and looking and evaluating. And I'm always using this measure of, as I look at the tools, what do I need my student to be able to do with them? What are the tool possibilities and how does that match up? I've done a lot of training on feature matching in the areas of writing and auditory supported reading. So you can take a look at that link to my YouTube channel that has videos from different state projects that I've done training for that have posted it. And then, of course, the other kinds of measurables that you can see. I am going to click, click, click to the end. Make sure that you are always celebrating and exhibiting students' work. And with that, I turn it back to the team at Wisconsin AT Forward. Thanks so much for this wild ride.